this well in the past. It's a living document. You look at the main things in there. It may change a little bit as we go forward, but I think it's something that we need to continue to focus on. What was the first part of that question?
The first part was
what is the importance of the 2040 comprehensive plan, and what are some of the key focus areas, and how do they impact Milton?
Yeah, one of the big things that's in the comprehensive land use or plan is to actually zoning. How do we want Milton to continue to grow? It also includes things as far as parks and rec. What are our goals on that side? So I think from a standpoint for the citizens, you've got a chance to give input. That plan is something that we actually use as a council, and it's something that's reviewed on a regular basis.
Okay. Helen, would you like to repeat that?
No, I agree with Rick. I think it's something we need to follow.
So we have multiple questions on this topic, so I'm going to try to put this into one question. It seems to be a very high interest item. The City of Milton purchased some properties on Hopewell Road, approximately 40 acres, and they proposed to build a park with 3 lighted football fields and a mega sports park, is what quite a few people are talking about. And succinctly, what is do you like it? Do you support it? Or are you against it?
I do not support the Hopewell Park going next to, I believe it's the Hester's farm. I went out and saw Cindy Hester, and they were very concerned about having a park like that next to their horse farm. I think it would create a lot of traffic, a lot of noise, and I don't think something like that should be in a residential area. I know some people do want a sports park. I think we should look more in commercial areas to put something like that there. My mother-in-law, it's funny because my mother-in-law just moved here from Las Vegas, and we found her this great house in Cumming. And it has a ½ an acre and all these trees behind it, and it's in this cute little neighborhood. We had no idea that behind that was a baseball field. So 10 o'clock at night, she can't go to bed because they're talking over the PA system and the lights are shining in her yard. And that's just one baseball field. So a mega park like that is going to disturb not only the beauty of that area, but it's going to create more traffic, more noise, more pollution. I am totally against it being there.
Rick, you need to repeat on this?
No. As far as the people who use the term mega park, just go back, I'll briefly tell you how we have to do land acquisition as a city. It's not a public process in the front end because we don't want the price of the land to go up. So staff takes a look and finds properties and says, here's what we think would be good. In this case, it was a property on Hopewell. What we weren't told at the time, and I'll blame myself for not going out, because generally I'll go out and I'll actually look before we vote so I see what's going on. I didn't realize that we had a beautiful horse farm on the north side where potentially you could put 3 ball fields. That's something that has been a part of the character of Milton. I think we need to continue to protect it. I think we need to look at what we're going to do with that property. What are the options going forward? I don't think it should be a mega park. I don't think we should have that level of density. I think there are better places that we can find, including maybe one of the parcels we've already purchased. We can take a look at how do we redeploy and utilize. So that's going to be, I've sat down with a number of people from that area, including the Hesters. I've heard the concerns. Like I said, I'll take ownership that I didn't go out there and look at it. Shame on me. But we also were not told by staff that we were going to butt a beautiful horse farm and ball fields and horse farms. A working horse farm do not go together. So I think it's something we need to take a look at. What are we going to do with that property, whether repurpose it or actually resell it? I think that's something we need to take a look at as a council.
Okay, Rick, you're first on this question. What are some of the areas where the city can more effectively use taxpayer dollars, and how would you as a city council member members support more effective use in those areas?
Well, I think every year, those of us who really take an interest in the budget continue to take a look and see, assess where the dollars are going. We do have great staff people, we have dedicated people. If you look at what we've accomplished, it's been great. But I think we also need to look at, before we do start adding new services or expanding the number of people that we hire, I think we have to be careful and take a look and see if it is necessary. And that comes back to essential services. There's a lot of great ideas, and it may sound good, let's do this for the citizens. But if the citizens haven't said there's going to be a need for that, it doesn't make sense to actually invest in that. One of the areas I think we need to focus on is we bought green space. We did that to preserve. We didn't want large areas just continue to be gobbled up by developers. So part of it is 50 years down the road, that's still going to be undeveloped. It's going to be passive cover. I think what we need to do is take a look at how can we actually open those up a little bit faster. It seems like it's been slow to actually get those for people to use. We got a number of them that I think have beautiful existing trails within. We just need to allocate the dollars and focus on trying to get that back out so people actually can start using it. And that's one of the things that I would focus on going forward is how do we make that, because we paid for it with our tax dollars. What do we do to make it available for you if you want to actually go out to those?
Can you repeat the question?
I think I tried it. I would like to spend our tax dollars on more green spaces and giving access, obviously, to the ones we've already purchased. And I would also like to lower our taxes, actually, and do some kind of senior incentive. We have surrounding areas where the seniors don't pay school tax, and I think that's awesome. I don't know why Milton doesn't have that, but I know in Cumming, Woodstock, my cousin pays $800 a year in property tax because she doesn't have to pay school tax. So I would like to see some kind of senior rollback where seniors don't have to pay for school tax. And then we wouldn't need as many tax dollars.
Helen, you're first on this. How would you improve city transparency to citizens in light of the ethics battle that have taken place in Milton this past year?
I am 100% for transparency. I think, first of all, I don't even understand how, I think the people who, I know that there's things going on, but other council members are acting in a way that's inappropriate. They should, sorry? No, they're not here, but I think they should be neutral. I don't understand why they're getting on board and basically throwing people under the bus. So I am all for transparency, and I can't wait until the truth does come out.
Can you repeat the question?
No thanks.
You were right on with me, so I don't know the inside joke.
But I appreciate the offer, thank you. The ethics battle that we've seen play out, where someone was charged with an ethics violation. I was there the night the discussion went on. The ethics panel
Okay, Rick, you're up first on this one. Traffic is an issue on many of our city streets. In addition to speed reductions that must be approved by the state, what types of traffic calming measures would you support as a city council member?
We've been pretty, I think, aggressive in actually trying to improve traffic flow in the city. I think there's a couple of things. We've been pushing to try to get the speed limit reduced for quite some time. Council funded a traffic study to say, let's look across the city. It does take time to reduce the speed limits, but if you look at Alpharetta, I think you only have 35 miles per hour on every street. We're in Milton, I understand there's more open roads, but I think we do need to work, continue to push, and staff is doing that, and the council is pushing for that too. Roundabouts, I think, have been a positive addition. We don't want to put a roundabout every corner, but where it makes sense, we've tried to see if that could help with the flow. The other thing I think we need to do, we beefed up actually having traffic enforcement. When I moved here, Bethany, it used to be Bethany, but it's Bethany Bend, and Highway 9 was a very dangerous corner. We had no traffic signal. I would ride my bike, back then I rode my bike. Trying to cross, you took your life in your hands. So now we got a traffic signal, but for the last 5 years, every time I'm coming from my neighborhood to go south, take a left onto Highway 9, I would have people that are going eastbound and want to go south on Highway 9 would pull into me as I was taking a left-hand turn when I had the light. We finally installed a sign that says no turn on red. So I think we need to continue to look at our key intersections. I think we also have to have, as much as people don't like it, where we have a lot of speed, we need to do traffic enforcement. Because I think you give a few tickets, and people see it, people will start slowing down and be a little bit more safer. Because we do not want to have traffic fatalities, especially with kids that are learning how to drive out there. So I think it's important that we continue to actually improve.
No. I think some of the lights are really long, and however they're programmed, you're sitting at a light for a really long time, and I think that also creates a backup. So I don't know if there's anything we could do about the timing of the lights, but I love roundabouts. I think they're great. That's why I love Milton so much. It reminds me of Ireland. In Ireland, they have those roundabouts, and it just keeps the traffic flowing. I don't want them on every corner either, but I also, I just think that they're a really good way to keep traffic moving. Also, there are some roads that do need to definitely decrease the traffic, the miles per hour, for sure, probably. I don't want to throw them out there, but maybe Birmingham Highway, New Providence Road, just a little. But New Providence Road it backs up when you get to Arnold Mill, which is not really Milton anymore. It becomes Roswell, but that light there is always forever. I don't know what we could do about the timing of the lights, but I feel like that also creates traffic. The pattern of the light seems to be off.
Okay, Helen, you're first on this question. Sometimes the music from the green across from City Hall is so loud it can be heard in City Council chambers during meetings. What can or should be done about the noise levels that exceed the allowed decibel level? What would you do as a council person if you could clearly hear music inside City Hall during a council meeting?
Are you talking about a concert in the green when there's a city council meeting?
I'm only describing. Since I don't live here, I'll describe it again. Sometimes the music coming from the green across from City Hall is so loud it can be heard in council chambers during meetings. What can or should be done about the noise levels that exceed the allowed decibel level? What would you do as a council person if you could clearly hear music inside City Hall during a council meeting? I've never been there.
I guess, is it, if it's loud, that it's bothering the neighbors? If it's a concert, I don't really see a problem with that.
understand there's a super PAC supporting some candidates for city council. Super PACs have very different standards for legal donation amounts. Are you supported by Milton's Family First? And if not, what is the source of your funding?
I don't think I'm supported by Milton Family First. In fact, I think they have it stated as one of their goals is actually to defeat me. They've actually allocated funds to defeat Rick Mohrig. It's one of their expense items, $10,000 they've spent. So, no, I don't think it's a good idea. I've never seen this in city elections. I've been here, like I said, since the beginning. The concern I've got is it seems like we've got national politics have now entered into the municipal election. And I don't think that's a good thing. Because regardless of who runs, anybody can run. Any of you could sign up and qualify. You don't have to hate your opponent. You know, that's one of the things I even said to my opponent. I said, let's just make sure that we keep this positive and civil and run a good campaign. Because when it's all said and done, we're going to be neighbors. So I don't need to dislike the other person. I do know that the super PAC, I think, is supporting my opponent. I've read a lot of things. I actually, it's amazing that I'm responsible for a 300% increase in crime in the city just made. That's some of the things that you read by the super PAC. I don't think it's a good thing. I think we can do it without that within the city. I think we can. I'd like to see civility start to come back in the way we handle things politically.
I can 100% say that I'm not supported by a super PAC. I'm self-funded with a few small donations. I'm against super PACs, and I'm a little concerned that some of the other candidates have, I don't want to give an exact number. I don't even know how this much money was raised, because it is very hard to get donations. And one of the candidates has a lot of money, almost triple-digit figures, almost six figures, and I just don't understand. It's not that easy to raise money. It's not that easy to get people to give you money. And so that's concerning, because that means whoever gave him all that money, he's beholden to. And so the fact that I'm self-funded and I have some small donations, I'm not beholden to anybody. The only thing I'm going to do is represent you guys with my own integrity and honesty, and nobody owns me. In fact, I was invited down to Atlanta to the realtors. They wanted to interview me to see if I would qualify for them to give me money, some realtor PAC. And I thought, no way do I want a realtor PAC to give me money. Here I am sitting up here saying I'm not happy about the development. The last thing I need is to have a real estate agent giving me money. So I'm very concerned about it, actually. Because like I said, if you get elected and you have all this money from people, you're beholden to them. Especially, and if he raised that much money, I'm thinking it's from outside of Georgia, outside of Milton, for sure, which is alarming.
Okay, Helen, you're up first on this question. What do you think about Carol Cookerly voting on the green space adjacent to her own property?
I think she should have recused herself. I think it's a conflict of interest. I wish I had a green space behind my property that could never be built on. What I find even more alarming or concerning is when you drive by it, there's a big no trespassing, keep out fence on that green space that we've paid for. But there are horse tracks. So somebody's using it, and it's not us.
Do you need me to repeat the question?
Well, I was around when we acquired that. That property used to be owned by Jim Wells, the Wells family. You were not here at the time, so you didn't know anything. I will state that Carol did not vote on that. She did recuse herself. So at the record state, there was no malfeasance by Carol Cookerly in purchasing that property. I think what we need to look at now is what are we going to do to try to open those trails.
Rick, you're up first on this. What is the biggest challenge facing Milton today, and what role does City Council have in addressing this challenge?
I think the biggest challenge we're going to have is determining what we're going to do in redevelopment. Highway 9 is prime for redevelopment. That means there's going to be a lot of money vying for that space. What we have been trying to do to make sure that we actually have input, Councilman Jacobus and myself have been meeting quarterly with staff, as well as with some of the owners of the property to talk about what are some things that they'd like to see for a project. I think it's really important that we stay involved, because once you build it, you're going to have it for the next 30 years. So, there's properties, they're owned by private individuals. I've met Mr. Fry, he's flown up from California, he sat down with us. So I think, just like in the past, you need to have dialogue and then make sure that we're kind of setting the expectations of what it is that we would like to see. It also requires that we have public input. So right now there may be discussion where developers are telling us that these are the things that we'd like to do. I think it's important that early on in the process, if we think that we're getting close to, maybe this is a concept that a developer wants to do that would be within the zoning laws, we need to get it out so you guys can actually see it, touch it, feel it if you're interested, and give your input. Because I think it's important, because this is your community. They're going to develop it, but it's important to make sure the way we develop it is something that we want. It's going to be something that is not dysfunctional and has the right mix of businesses. And we also got a corridor along Arnold Mill. That would be a little bit more challenging, because it goes Roswell, Alpharetta, Milton. There's not contiguous folks there, space there. But I think that's probably one of the biggest things that we face is redevelopment and how to continue to manage that.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Helen, what is the biggest challenge facing Milton today, and what role does City Council have in addressing this challenge?
I think the biggest challenge is development, and I would like to see some kind of incentive. I know there is going to be development, but when farms are being sold, 50-acre, 100-acre farms, I'd like to see some kind of incentive. So maybe we could bring people in who would be interested in actually having a piece of land like that, instead of selling it to a developer who's going to make 100 homes or 50 homes on that acreage. So I'd like to see, that would be a priority in my mind, to try to incentivize people to buy bigger pieces of land and live this Milton dream the way we all intended it to be.
Okay. Rick? Oh, Helen, you're up first, sorry. What is the value of the Planning Commission, and how much weight should the City Council place on their recommendations?
I think it's important to have experts counseling people on. So if it's a planning commission and they're experts in their field, they're giving their recommendations, but ultimately it is up to the city council, because they're the ones who are elected to make those decisions.
Okay, Rick. What is the value of the Planning Commission? How much weight should the City Council place on their recommendations?
I think the Planning Commission is very important. When we started the city, we tried to determine what different commissions